The world glorifies the triumphant man, the titan of industry, the conqueror. But the ascent is rarely a clean climb. It's a brutal negotiation with one's own soul, a series of choices made in the cold light of dawn when no one is watching. We speak of ambition as a virtue, a noble pursuit, a driving force for progress. And in many ways it is. But beneath the polished surface lies a darker, more demanding truth that few men are willing to confront. Ambition requires focus. It demands singular devotion. This means sacrifices, often unseen. The late nights working while others sleep, the missed family dinners, the postponed vacations. These are the common tolls. But they are merely the initial payments on a much larger debt. The deeper costs are more insidious. They involve the erosion of comfort, the willingness to embrace isolation, and the necessity of making decisions that will inevitably disappoint or alienate those close to you. A man consumed by ambition must learn to compartmentalize. He must develop a callus over his heart, shielding it from the emotional fallout of his relentless pursuit. This isn't about being cruel. It's about survival in a game that rewards only the relentless. The pursuit of true greatness often forces a man to choose between his desires and his affections, between his vision and the comfort of those he loves. This is the inherent conflict, the paradox at the core of masculine ambition. Consider the architect of a grand cathedral, or the general planning a decisive campaign. Their vision requires an unwavering resolve. They must consider the blueprints, the logistics, the potential losses, and the ultimate objective, often at the expense of immediate personal happiness or the desires of their subordinates. Their gaze is fixed on the horizon, on what will be, rather than what was. This forward-looking perspective is essential, but it comes at a steep price. The constant tension between the present moment and the future dominion. This relentless drive can morph into something dangerous if unchecked. It can twist from a tool of creation into a weapon of destruction, not just against external obstacles, but against one's own character. The hunger for more, the need to conquer, can become an insatiable void. A man must ask himself, what am I truly building, and at what cost to the foundations of my own being? This is where the hard truths begin to surface. The common narrative tells men to push harder, to want more, to never settle. It is a narrative that ignores the essential wisdom found in balance. A truly ambitious man understands that his capacity for achievement is intrinsically linked to his inner strength and his integrity. He knows that cutting corners, betraying principles, or sacrificing his well-being for short-term gains will ultimately hollow him out. The edifice he builds will be grand, but it will be built on sand. Nietzsche understood this internal battle when he wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how, but the why itself must be examined. Is it a noble purpose that elevates humanity, or a desperate attempt to fill an internal void with external validation?" The ambitious man must have the courage to confront this question, even when the answer is uncomfortable. The pursuit of mastery is not merely about external success, but about the internal architecture of the self. It is about building a character that can withstand the pressures of achievement. The path of ambition is often a lonely one. It requires a tolerance for solitude, an acceptance that true progress may necessitate periods of isolation. The clamor of the crowd is a distraction. The opinions of the masses are irrelevant to the architect of his own destiny. A man must be comfortable in his own company, able to withstand the silence and the introspection that true ambition demands. This solitude is not a punishment, but a forge. It is where character is tempered, where resolve is strengthened, and where clarity is found. We see the end result, the successful man. We rarely see the detours, the compromises, the moments of profound doubt, or the necessary ruthlessness. The story is always about the summit, never the treacherous climb. This selective storytelling creates an unrealistic expectation, setting men up for disillusionment. True ambition requires acknowledging the full spectrum of its demands, not just the glittering rewards. There are those who argue that such ruthlessness is a necessary evil, a prerequisite for any significant accomplishment. They point to historical figures, men who reshaped the world through sheer force of will, often at great personal and societal cost. This perspective holds a grim truth, that the scale of one's ambition often dictates the scale of one's compromises. The question then becomes not why if a compromise will be necessary, but which compromises a man is willing to make, and for what ultimate purpose. Is the pursuit of power worth the loss of compassion? Is the accumulation of wealth worth the estrangement from loved ones? Is the attainment of fame worth the sacrifice of privacy and inner peace? These are not questions with easy answers. They are the crucible in which a man's character is tested. The ambitious man who avoids these questions or answers them superficially is destined for a hollow victory. The true master of ambition is not the one who achieves the most, but the one who achieves his goals without sacrificing his core principles or his humanity. He understands that the journey is as important as the destination, and that the how of his actions defines him as much as the what of his achievements. This requires a constant, vigilant self-awareness. It is the ongoing work of sculpting one's own character, ensuring that the pursuit of external success does not lead to internal bankruptcy. So, what is the price of ambition? It is the willingness to face difficult choices. It is the capacity to endure loneliness. It is the courage to confront the darker aspects of one's own nature. It is the discipline to ensure that the pursuit of more does not lead to the loss of self. The ambitious man must build not only empires, but also an unshakable inner citadel, one that can withstand the inevitable storms of his own making. We speak of ambition as a virtue, a noble pursuit, and it can be, but it is a double-edged sword. It can carve paths to greatness or cleave a man's soul in two. The choice and the consequence rests solely with him. He must understand the true cost before he commits to the endeavor. For some, the price is too high. For others, it is the only path worth walking, provided they walk it with eyes wide open to its profound and often brutal reality. The ascent is rarely clean. It is a brutal negotiation with one's own soul, a series of choices made in the cold light of dawn when no one is watching, shaping not just the world, but the man himself.